Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Cool, calm and collected, Daniel Dubois dominates Nathan Gorman, dropping him and ultimately stopping him in the fifth round of their fight at the O2 in London. This was a very measured, a very composed performance by Daniel Dubois, who behind the jab and behind his right hands, he outboxed the boxer Nathan Gorman. Dubois maximizing his reach advantage, making Gorman fall short, and really, after the first round, Daniel Dubois had it all over Nathan Gorman. It was a pretty competitive first round, but Daniel Dubois, making some adjustments in the second half of that round, started to sort of ease into his work, and in the second round really started to have some success with the right hand. Gorman did show a good chin. Some other heavyweights would have gone down from the punches that Dubois was landing, and there was a very wild exchange in the mid-round of round two. Gorman, he was actually cut over the left eye. You can see here on screen, this is his corner working on the cut between the rounds. Gorman, he did land one overhand right before the bell, but it was a clear Dubois round. Round three, Nathan Gorman down for the first time in his career. Dubois lands a clubbing right hand, a lot of sort of stank on that punch. He follows up with a few more right hands, and Gorman, who's seemingly off balance but not terribly hurt, is down for the first time in his career. At this point, Daniel Dubois looks to come in for the kill, but Nathan Gorman, the whole fight or flight response, chooses to fight, and he just absolutely lets his hands go. He does catch Dubois with a few shots, but Dubois is catching him as well, but it does slow Dubois' advance. He does back off a bit, and Gorman sees out the round. Round four, a continuation. Daniel Dubois landing some nice work, some body shots in there. Behind the jab, he's looking good. He's making Nathan Gorman fall short, and that was a key in this fight for him. Gorman, with a 5-inch reach disadvantage, just couldn't close the distance at times to really land a left hook that he was looking to tag Dubois with. Whereas Dubois was catching Gorman with a right hand when Gorman was throwing that left hook. Round five, and it's all she wrote. A double jab followed by a right hand drops Nathan Gorman. He looks to be able to beat the count, but doesn't make it up by 10, and it's all over. Very good effort by Daniel Dubois, and what impressed me most with this is he controlled the boxer. He controlled Gorman with his jab. He was very composed. It wasn't just, he often gets some criticism that he's a bit robotic, that he doesn't do things very well, but in this fight, he handled the boxer easily enough. He used his advantages. At times he got drawn into a little bit of a war, but Nathan Gorman, surprisingly, was looking to trade a lot more than I expected he would, and ultimately that sort of proved to be some of his downfall. He was taking a lot of punishment in some of those exchanges that he'd have with Daniel Dubois. I thought that he would look to maybe box a bit more on the back foot, try to let Daniel Dubois sort of gas himself out a little bit, but he came with intent to fight, let his hands go in the early rounds, and ultimately Daniel Dubois was able to handle him easily enough. Very good win. Daniel Dubois picks up the vacant British heavyweight title, makes a statement to the heavyweight division. Daniel Dubois, I think on the basis of this, do we say that he's a fully minted contender now, or at least a fringe contender? I think he has left his prospect phase behind. He was asked after the fight, who did he want to fight next, but very non-committal, sort of said, look, I will just let my team make those decisions. We need to have a talk to my promoter, talk to my trainer Martin Bowers, and all that sort of thing. Frank Warren, he sort of diverted on that one too, but with Joe Joyce having beat Bryant Jennings, there is an obvious matchup that they could make if they want to. Joe Joyce versus Daniel Dubois. I think at this rate, with Daniel Dubois and his power, which really did trouble Nathan Gorman, and Gorman admitted after the fight, look, he's a powerful guy. I got caught with a good shot and I wasn't able to recover. He is a very powerful guy. So Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce, I think if that one was made, maybe Dubois with those straight right hands and the power, and Joyce being maybe defensively not as great as he could be. Bryant Jennings was tagging him up in their fight, countering him almost not at will, but throughout their fight, Jennings was having a lot of success. And if Joyce is open in a fight with Dubois, Could be all over early, but I like that fight if they can make it. It sort of seems like they might build towards that, but then again, we shall see, because Joyce has other options and potentially so does Daniel Dubois, but I think it would be good to see him in with a top 30 guy now, something like that. I did hear Nathan Gorman ahead of this fight say that the winner would be a top 5 heavyweight in the division. I think we can kind of say, well, that was maybe overshooting the mark of where the winner ends up being, but definitely a top 25 heavyweight, top 30 heavyweight. Nathan Gorman and Daniel Dubois had fought relatively similar competition, but it was the sort of general fodder that a prospect would have on the come-up. They've now fought each other. Daniel Dubois was a cut above. The cream did rise to the top. Gorman was not the man to beat Daniel Dubois, and Daniel Dubois moves on. Be interesting to see who they match him with next, but hopefully it's not dropping down from this level, because at this point in his career it might be hard to get some of the fights that we may want to see him in with. Someone like a top 30 or maybe even a top 40 guy, give him some rounds, something to, because he's only 11 or 12 fights deep into his career. Dubois still needs a bit more seasoning. Gorman and Dubois were relatively the same level in their prospect phase, so it made sense to make that fight. He might need a few more seasoning fights to come. Maybe someone like a Johan Dorper, that sort of caliber of opponent, someone who's around the top 30, that might be about the right level. Well, it remains to be seen what they'll do, but what did you make of this fight? I thought it was a very good performance by Daniel Dubois, and he proved he is one of the best prospects in the world right now in the heavyweight division. Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.